can I? Okay, how about I ask you some questions here?
Go ahead.
Why did Kyle Rittenhouse go to that area to defend that property? What was the
Didn't
purpose?
he have a job working as a lifeguard in that city?
Yeah, he worked there.
Well, my assertion would be that because he's part of this militia, that he saw perhaps a post on Facebook where, yes, that property owner was asking for people to come defend property, which might add a little bit to the racially charged motivation for this whole thing. But when it comes to
crossing the state line, saying that forfeits his right to self-defense, is that what you're saying?
No, well, a lot of this forfeits his legal stance on this, but it forfeits his moral right to self-defense in the sense that, like, he's not just standing there as an innocent good old boy. Wait, hold on. He's not just standing there as an innocent good old boy, and then suddenly he was just attacked.
What about illegal immigrants? Do illegal immigrants forfeit their right to self-defense when they cross the border illegally into the United States? There are millions of illegal immigrants that are living in this country right now.
Okay. So
I watched your conversation with Destiny about Kyle Rittenhouse, and I thought it was very interesting. So I want to talk about that situation with you today. And I wanted to know, do you think that Kyle Rittenhouse shot those people in self-defense? And has your opinion on the incident changed at all since it first happened and now?
So I'll answer both those questions totally. And are we going to focus on that primarily? Just curious, like, what's the agenda?
Yeah, I would like to talk about the morality of that and, private property, when it's okay to self-defense, kill people, things of that nature.
Okay, sounds good. Oh, I just got the stream up. Wow, you've got me huge in the corner. This is going to be wild. So what do you want to start with? Was he morally justified?
Do you want me to make you...
Do you think that he was morally justified, and has your opinion on the incident changed at all?
Yeah, so as I've gone down this rabbit hole, which is not one I thought I'd be talking about, because this seems to be something that both sides are focusing a lot on, right? Like, are you guys? I mean, I'm not trying to push away from the question, but are you guys? Are you in the camp where you think that he was not only morally justified, but that he's a hero for doing so?
I don't know if I call him a hero, but I think he was morally justified and was acting in self-defense.
Okay. And Adam, same for you?
Well, I call him a hero for stepping up to defend people's private property from looters. Hell yeah. Like he basically put his life at risk to defend other people's property. I think that's pretty heroic.
Oh, wow. All right. So, yeah. Okay. So I don't think he was morally justified in killing those people. I also don't think you're morally justified in murdering someone for someone else's property. If I could go down it, because I don't want to get bogged down on this whole, like, I don't know. I don't want to talk about like epistemology when it comes to this stuff. I think there's 3 requirements when it comes to whether or not you would be morally justified in basically ending someone's life, right? And that would be the imminence of the threat that's coming towards you, the necessity for you to act out against that threat, and then the proportionality of your actions in relation to what is being caused towards you. Because essentially, this is a precog debate, right? You're trying to stop a pre-crime. You're basically trying to stop someone who you think is about to either cause you harm or kill you.
So do you think people should be allowed to defend property at all?
So I think you should be allowed to defend your own property within the context of, is your property going to be essential for your livelihood? Is it going to be essential for you to live? So is someone trying to, say, attack your house and kill your kids, or attack your house and smash into it, something of that nature? I think that's a far stretch from going to another...
Let's simplify it. Sure. Like, okay, you're a shop owner and you see someone stealing something from your store. Can you, I'm not saying kill them, but can you go up and be like, grab them and be like, hey, stop stealing from my store?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so you're allowed to defend your property to some extent.
To some extent, right? But right there, you've already said that you're going to stop them. You're not going to shoot them. So you're not basically like... right away, you've kind of met that 3rd qualification, the proportionality. Someone's trying to steal, so you might like grab their hand and stop them from stealing that item, right? That's different. And then are you going to accelerate that to the point where can you justify shooting them for trying to grab those chips?
Well, so what happens when you grab the guy and he drops the chips but pulls a knife and then tries to stab you? Are you allowed morally to pull out the gun you're carrying and shoot him?
So at that point, he's no longer stealing your property. He's trying to attack you.
Right.
Yeah. So at that point, it's a matter of self-defense, right?
So how come
self-defense should always be highly analogous to the punishment? I think that's the important thing that we have to take away from this.
No, but what I'm getting at is, why are you classifying the Kyle situation differently? He wasn't defending property; he was defending his person. just like the shopkeeper would be in our hypothetical situation.
Right. So why was he there in the first place? Was he there to defend his person? Was he there? Oh, so he was there to defend property. So he walked into an area which is going to be obviously antagonistic area where people are self as a moralist, but like that would be my contention from a legal framework. Like, do you guys, have you looked into the Wisconsin law and how it applies to him?
I haven't looked into the legality of it. I'm not sure.
Well, let's do that because this is important.
Well, I'm more interested in the moral part of it than the
we got to talk about both. We can't really separate the two, right? Because laws are essentially a reflection of our morals. That's the entire point of this.
That's the Adam perspective.
Well, yeah, totally. Hey, I want to ask a quick question here because, so you're going to make the argument that if he illegally crossed state lines, he was underage, there were all these other laws that he broke, therefore he forfeits his right to self-defense. Is that the argument you're making?
No, that's not the argument I'm making. But I am saying that in that case, right, from a legal standpoint, he's forfeiting his legal defense in that state. He legally forfeits his right. Okay, but let's look at this because I just want to state this. Wisconsin law stipulates any person under 18 years of age who possesses or goes armed with a dangerous weapon is guilty of a Class A misdemeanor. And then there's the 939 statute that says you cannot claim self-defense in defense of property if you yourself do not own the property. That includes place of business. So the law is very clear when it comes to this.
Okay,
you cannot claim self-defense if you're defending property that you yourself do not own.
I haven't even. Okay, the problem is I haven't looked through any of these statutes, so I can't validate or talk about any of them because I don't know if you're reading them properly. I don't know anything about this. I'm not prepared to do an in-depth conversation on the law of the situation. So.
But if we're going to be talking about this, and the subject you wanted, we have to explore this as well, right?
We can't. About was
you just wanted to concentrate only on morality, like just the philosophy on this.
Why not?
Well, because they're intertwined. Obviously, it's like it's not as black and white. Like I know you'd like to paint it as this kind of binary where he comes in there and it's like, well, was he justified or not? And then should we walk away with that?
No,
when there's so much more to this conversation.
I'm
it's
interested.
such a racially charged conversation, to say the very least.
Obviously, nothing's a black and white binary. One face shopkeeper can defend himself when being attacked, while Kyle Rittenhouse can't defend himself when he's being attacked.
Well, in order to do that, we have to paint the whole picture, right?
But that's what's the difference between the hypothetical situation and the Kyle situation?
Can we look at the law for a second?
Go into it.
It was not the shopkeeper owner. It wasn't. They were not stealing his chips. He did not own the store. He was not going in there.
Okay, so if Kyle was the son of the guy whose gas station he was protecting or the car dealership, would this change your opinion? Would it be self-defense all of a sudden?
So what are the people doing to the property itself? Were they smashing windows of cars? And then at that moment, did he say, I'm taking it upon myself to be a hero, and I'm now going to shoot these people for smashing the cars?
None of that took place.
No. Wait. No, there's no evidence that he was shooting or aiming at anyone who was doing anything like that.
Right. We're in the middle of
a hypothetical.
All
we know is that he was
you just chased. Proposed a hypothetical scenario, and I'm asking you to extrapolate on it. Like, give me some more color on this. So you say he's suddenly the shopkeeper's son.
Okay, fine. That's the hypothetical would be he is the car dealership's son. He's standing in front of it with a gun. He's saying, "Yeah, you guys can protest. Just leave this private property safely and alone." Someone starts a dumpster fire. He puts it out with a fire extinguisher, and that upsets someone who decides to chase him. He runs away, and in the middle of running away, the guy tries to grab him, and he turns and shoots him.
Right. So at that point, you've gone from him defending property to defending himself because he's run away from the area. He's not defending the property. He's not trying to put the dumpster fire out anymore. He's trying to defend himself from an ongoing attacker. That's separate from defending personal property.
So you agree that that's self-defense?
Well, if you're being directly attacked by someone, yeah, that's self-defense. In this case, if we're going to leave the hypothetical scenario, this was a situation in which the attacker, right, through what was thought to be something, I don't know, a Molotov cocktail was the first rumor I heard, turned out to be a plastic bag. That's what the police report says. So it's not as if the person who's attacking him has a gun. The person who was attacking him, did not have a firearm, and then he still shot him dead.
He tried to take his firearm, though.
How is that relevant if someone's within grabbing distance of you?
Of your firearm.
Well, again, so let's go back to these three golden rules, because that's why I wanted to establish them at the very start. Is it going to be proportional? What's the necessity? Is there an imminence of threat? All three of those are very, very important when determining whether or not it's moral for him to have done what he did.
So you don't think it's reasonable if a person who you don't really have an interaction with, completely unprovoked, chases you and is trying to grab you in a contentious political protest and grab your gun? as you're running away. You're doing your duty to flee from this person.
So you sorry
chasing you. So are you saying that if you're in Kyle's situation, you're just gonna what? You're just gonna stand there, let the guy attack you? Grab your gun?
maybe it's just me because like I'm not anti-firearm. I'm for responsible gun ownership, but I can't imagine a scenario where someone is chasing me without a weapon and my first response is to shoot them in the face.
No, but that's what I'm asking you. So if someone's chasing you, you're standing there. Say that there's an angry riot, or let's say angry protest that has sometimes caused riots, but not always, of anti-immigration ideas or something, of people who are very anti-immigration. And there's been some people burning down buildings in response to this. And you're defending the shop of some nice immigrant person who started their own business. And one of these protesters starts chasing you and you're running away. And the guy's right about to grab you. You're just going to let him grab the gun from you? You're just going to let it happen?
As opposed to shoot him in the face?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would choose not to shoot him in the face.
Okay. So you're willing to potentially sacrifice yourself than to take another person's life?
No. See, it goes both ways. This cuts both ways. So in both cases, right, you have to decide whether or not you're going to forfeit someone else's right to life. We're talking about this if it's strictly from a moralistic stance. So can I sacrifice that person's right to life? Is it going to be proportional to what's happening to me? Is he trying to grab my gun? Is he throwing a plastic bag at me? Is that the extent of it? Then no, I don't think I have the right to forfeit his right to life by shooting him in the face.
Right. So you're making the calculation that the risk of when this guy is chasing you and grabs you, you're making the calculated risk that you're going to allow that to occur as opposed to defend yourself?
Well, I mean,
on the off chance he doesn't kill you?
In the off chance that he doesn't kill me. And what's the risk from the other end? So what's the risk for the person who's going after him? Because he feels that this individual may be going to shoot him or other people. And so you're saying, does he have a right to perhaps defend himself?
You're talking about the guy chasing, the guy with the gun.
Right. Well, no, not just the guy with the gun, not just Kyle Rittenhouse, but the person chasing after Kyle Rittenhouse, or even the individuals afterwards who are trying to stop Kyle Rittenhouse.
What was the first guy's name? Let's use names because it's getting...
Yeah, for sure.
What was the first guy's name? Do you remember?
Pedo 1. I don't remember his name.
Wasn't it? Does anyone in the chat know?
I'm interested.
Rosenberg or something.
While he's looking that up, Lance, can you give me the three? Yeah. The three you call them the three golden rules. I don't know that it is the golden rule, but what were the?
No. But I'm just trying to ground my own moral axioms.
Rosenberg.
No, I figured
that would save us time, so we don't go in circles.
I agree. I just wanted to write.
So,
what were they again?
So the first one would be imminence, the imminence of the threat. The second would be the necessity in order to respond, and the third would be proportionality. So how is your response in relation to the violence being caused against you? And again, when it comes to self-defense, I think it has to be highly analogous to the punishment being committed.
So anyway, the guy's name was Rosenbaum. So you're saying, I didn't understand what you were asking, that you're saying the threat from Rosenbaum's perspective?
Well, I'm saying in both cases, right? So you're saying this is a matter of moral. So you want to say whether or not he was morally justified in shooting the first person because he felt, in your opinion, and if I'm mischaracterizing you, please let me know. But in your opinion, the person was posing an imminent threat to his life. That's how you're reading this, right?
Yeah, a potential imminent threat. Sure.
Okay, so a potential imminent threat. So in response, he then has the right to forfeit his life in order to protect his own because that's the only way things are going to go. And even though, by the way, I think I'm being pretty charitable in saying that because if you watch the video footage, there was someone else who shoots off into the corner. They shoot a firearm into the air. Right. I don't know if they shot it into the sky, which is a bad idea. The bullets will rain down upon you at some point. But anyways, that is also what could have provoked him to shoot first, right? He may have heard a gunshot and it's not related to this, or maybe it was, maybe the person was trying to scare him, but that gunshot also could have been enough for him to be like, oh God, and then shoot, in the heat of the moment. So that fear did not come directly from Rosenbaum in that case, if that's the case, right? This is just us reading the video footage we see.
Yeah, but he didn't shoot him immediately after the shot. They both turned, if I recall correctly, they both heard the shot, turned, then the chase continued for another couple seconds. Rosenbaum is within grabbing distance. He has his arms out, and then that's when Kyle shoots him. So I guess it's weird to me because it sounds like you're saying that if you're Kyle in the situation, you're going to allow Rosenbaum to grab the gun and you're going to just let the chips fall where they may.
Well, no, we're trying to get to the root because this seems to be a focus point. And again, I'm hoping we can also move past just the moral arguments because it's unusual to me that this conversation is getting stuck in something like this when there's so many more facets to it. But if that's the route we want to go down, there's a lot of things that Kyle's done before that, that encounter even happens that I think is forfeiting the moral ground as well. And I'm sure you've heard the list ad nauseum, right? Traveling across state lines, perhaps with a firearm. He claims he got it there, but that's one thing. Not allowed to carry the weapon that he has. He's not even legally allowed to own it. He's not allowed to open carry it either.
How did the crossing the state lines thing that forfeits his right to self-defense? Is that what you're saying?
No, a lot of this forfeits his legal stance on this, but it forfeits his moral right to self-defense in the sense that, like, he's not just standing there as an innocent good old boy. Wait, hold on. He's not just standing there as an innocent good old boy, and then suddenly he was just attacked, and that's like out of nowhere. It's like, oh, how did this happen? How could this perfect angel have these monsters befall upon him? Right?
I'm curious if you have this
forfeit their life.
Sorry, you're both talking at the same time.
Do you think security guards forfeit their self-defense right if they're defending something?
How about
if they're defending property as a job?
Yeah.
So it depends. Again, we have to think about the situation. There's no blanket statement for all of this. That's why I'm giving you these 3 rules in order to be able to justify whether or not each situation is going to be dependent on it. Is the security guard in an imminent threat? What's the necessity of his response? And what's the proportionality going to be to the response itself?
What about illegal immigrants?
You're kind of skirting past, and you're kind of
Sitch. What about illegal immigrants? Do illegal immigrants forfeit their right to self-defense when they cross the border illegally into the United States? There are millions of illegal immigrants that are living in this country right now.
Okay. So the minute they forfeit, do you think that these are in any way analogous, these 2 scenarios?
I'm asking you. You're the one that said he forfeits his right to self-defense when he crossed the state lines illegally.
I didn't say that, but cool straw man. I'm saying
so what did you say then exactly?
I said, okay, if we can go through the list of things.
You said
there's
morally
he abandons
his moral.
Kyle Rittenhouse did in order to make me think that, yeah, he did not go there as a good old boy looking to clean graffiti and just save some lives.
Specifically
about these are very important, okay?
I'm asking you specifically about the crossing state lines thing.
Okay,
you said because he crossed state lines illegally, he forfeited the moral high ground. Do you put that same standard on illegal immigrants who have illegally crossed a state line to come into the United States? Do they forfeit their right?
This is like a bizarre straw man.
Do they
really disanalogous scenario? You were the one that just said it. Do you want me to go through that one? I can go through that one as well.
So do illegal immigrants have the moral right to defend themselves?
Do illegal immigrants have the moral right to defend themselves? Yes, the same
people have crossed
within the same
line illegally into the United States.
Within the same scenarios that I presented you with. The same scenarios. Do you remember them? Because if we go through all 3 of those, yes, it depends on the scenario. This is not we can't blanket statement these.
Okay.
So it's not a blanket statement. We're trying to isolate the independent variables here, and it feels like you don't want to do that.
Oh, I'm fine. Like isolating the independent variables in this scenario. When it comes to Kyle Rittenhouse, it's unusual to me why we keep missing these points. Like
I just want to get an answer.
Because we want to cut it down to this really black and white scenario where Kyle Rittenhouse, was he morally justified in order to defend himself in this one scenario? As if everything else happened in a vacuum, right? As if nothing else matters.
So
the fact that he's not legally allowed to own the gun, the fact that he's defending property that he doesn't even know.
Well, that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to isolate each variable independently. Mm-hmm. So if you say he crossed state lines, then we have to say, okay, well, if he didn't, does that change your thought on it? And if you say it doesn't, then we throw that variable out because that's not really relevant to the conversation.
Well, no, because I'm saying it's not just one variable. It's like, let's paint a tapestry.
It's a list of variables. You're saying how many? Can you tell us? Is it 5 variables? Is it 6 variables? When is the variable threshold crossed?
Well, we're talking about a very specific case. Are
these variables
we're trying to isolate
ordered,
are they hierarchical?
Does that change are these variables?
If I classify them, if I put them.
Was there like a primary variable that if that alone changed, then your opinion on this would change?
Yeah, I suppose so. If I was to pick apart, I think eventually I would say that there's certain things that he did that were bad or good, but that doesn't change the fact that I don't think he was morally justified in what he was doing.
I just before we move on, I just want to get clarity. I've asked you a question, you haven't answered it.
Sure.
Do illegal immigrants have the moral right to self-defense. I think it's
So
important
I did
because
answer
there
that,
are
but I'll
millions.
repeat it a second time. That's fine. I said it depends on the scenario. So again, I'd have to go through those 3 points depending on the scenario.
So there are plenty of scenarios where illegal immigrants forfeit the right to self-defense in your book. Can you list one of those scenarios where an illegal immigrant forfeits right to self-defense?
Well, if they were crossing the border and then they immediately were about to attack someone, so that person would then have the moral ground to self-defend themselves, right? If they were about to kill somebody, then yes, that person could act in
So if those
self-defense.
illegal
That
immigrants
doesn't
are
have-
criminals.
But that
Sorry?
doesn't have to do with them crossing the border. That has to do with them attacking someone.
Yeah, exactly. It's independent variable.
So this is the gotcha we're hinging on. It's the imaginary lines argument, as if
Well,
we
want to separate.
Wait,
we want to get rid of that variable.
You brought up the imaginary lines argument.
Well, I was bringing up a handful of things that I think characterize Kyle Rittenhouse as foregoing, yes, the moral grandstanding here. Like, can I? Okay, how about I ask you some questions here?
Go ahead.
Why did Kyle Rittenhouse go to that area to defend that property? What was the
Didn't he
purpose?
have a job working as a lifeguard in that city?
Yeah, he worked there.
So he went to work his job. Then he decided to volunteer his time cleaning graffiti. And then someone called and said, "Hey, can anyone help defend this piece of property at night?" And he said, "Sure."
Do you think he actually got like a literal call? Was it like the bat signal went out, and then all of a sudden he's like, "I
think
be a hero,"
he got
and
like
then
a
he went
phone
over?
call. That's what
They called the,
Yeah,
the high
that's the
school.
lawyer's deposition. But that to me is so comical. I didn't know that we'd be running with that.
Why
Like,
is that common? Wait.
Do
Why
you,
is
do you
that
have
common?
better information? If you have better information, please provide it.
Well, my assertion would be that because he's part of this militia, that he saw perhaps a post on Facebook where yes, that property owner was asking for people to come
but
defend
do you have
property,
evidence
which
of
might
this?
add a little bit to the racially charged motivation for this
But
whole
do you
thing.
have
But when it comes to,
Like, do you have evidence of this? Where are you getting this from?
well, so the evidence in one direction is coming from their legal team, right? That's
Yeah.
where the evidence comes that he got the
Based
phone
on a
call.
statement
Based on-
from Kyle Rittenhouse. You're
Absolutely.
doing
So-
hypotheticals of from
and,
where?
and so if that is what turns out to be true, that's like ridiculous to me. Like, I don't understand in what world does business owners reach out to high school kids saying, "Hey, please come help me." Come.
Do you
come
think the
defend my
business
property.
owner called Kyle personally, or do you think he called whoever was organizing the
or
cleanup
militia?
and said, "Hey, can you help me out with this?"
Yeah, they had a cleanup going at the high school, cleaning up graffiti. He probably called the cleanup crew.
I mean, it wasn't just kids. There was a whole bunch of adults and other people.
So he called the cleanup crew, and then whose decision was it to send kids to go protect property? with
Kyle
guns?
Rittenhouse volunteered.
Yeah. So
According
that's,
to the statement. I mean, that's what we're going off of. But you're basically saying that the lawyer statement is incorrect, and you have this other theory of exactly what happened. But that theory is
I'm fine believing the lawyer statement. To me, the lawyer statement like that to me is just a ridiculous premise. I mean, maybe it's something that happens often, and I'm just woefully unaware of it.
It's just interesting
where
that
kids or groups or even people who work in pools or want to wash stuff off are interested in going and helping out and protecting property at gunpoint.
But you have this other idea that he was checking his Facebook. Like, where did you get that idea from?
Oh, that's another idea that's been reported. But here, I can pull up the article.
Yeah, who reported that?
I think it was the New York Times saying where exactly did the call come from. So yeah, the New York Times was reporting that apparently there were calls on Facebook for people to come defend property. Now, whether or not the militia chose to use that, whether or not they saw it, or if actually Kyle Rittenhouse got, again, the bat signal, he got a personal phone call from the person, or the group itself got the phone call. In either rate, that's one part of this in which. So do you think then that makes it okay for him to go defend someone else's property because of the fact that he was reached out to? Let's say that.
Well, I think it's irrelevant. I think he would be morally justified in self-defense regardless. So I don't really know what the point is on harping on this, but I was just explaining to you how I assumed the situation went down based on the evidence I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how this is that relevant. Do you think that changes anything?
Well, all of these things are relevant. First off, like, he was not legally allowed to own that firearm. Is that relevant?
Not to his immediate self-defense, no.
That doesn't matter at all.
Wait, so do you think that if you had a gun that you weren't allowed to own and someone tries to murder you, you're not allowed to kill the person with the gun because you're not allowed to have it?
Oh, because it's beside you. No, I think, again, if you're acting in self-defense and you have an immediate threat to your life, yeah, you can use that. But that is one of many things when it comes to Kyle Rittenhouse that, again, he was not walking into this as an innocent bystander. He was not walking into this and then all of a sudden Kyle Rittenhouse, how did this happen? Like, we never could have predicted this. How did he all of a sudden get attacked. So in this scenario, he was going there with the intent purpose of to protect property at gunpoint, right?
Do you not think people should be allowed to protect property? That's what it seems like we keep coming back to.
We keep coming back to this. Well, I mean, we're just going to go in circles. I can keep giving you the same answer. I think you can defend property if it's something that is immediate to your livelihood, like if you will need it to be able to survive. For example, if someone is about to smash your bottle of heart medication, then your heart will stop if they do that. It's pretty much the same as if they're just about to stab you in the heart. So that's an instance where I'll grant you that, yes, you can defend that heart medication.
Well, no, but you said that you can defend the bag of chips. You know, you said that earlier. That's not immediate to your well-being, right?
Well, yeah, my answer there remains the exact same. I don't think you can shoot someone in the face if they try to steal your bag of chips. And I certainly don't think you can shoot someone in the face if they steal your friend's bag of chip.
No one's suggesting that.
Of course. Well, that's why we have to look at this as a case-specific thing. We have to go down this piece by piece, right?
Right, but we have to look at the variables, right?
Yes,
we've established. Okay, so wait a minute. So we've established that you believe it's okay to defend property. Okay. As well, you know, not lethally, right? It's okay.
Not said that, but sure.
You said the shopkeeper is allowed to defend the bag of chips, okay? Or allowed to
I also didn't say that. You're mischaracterizing me. I'm saying.
Well, how am I mischaracterizing?
Okay, remember. Okay, so I mean, we can go back in the VOD, but your example was if someone grabbed a bag of chips, can you stop them from grabbing that bag of chips?
Right.
I said, yeah, you can try to stop them.
Okay, when I say defend property, that's what I am. Is that not how you would categorize defending property? Grabbing someone, taking a bag of chips?
Yeah, but am I going to be able to kill them over those chips?
Well, we're not there yet, though. We got to take a step by step. Okay,
right, let's do it.
So you're saying that yes, you can defend property. You're fine with the concept of an individual person defending property, right?
Right. With non-lethal means to an extent, based on the scenario.
Means,
yeah,
of course.
Based on the scenario, sure.
So, but then you also, and you correct me if I'm wrong, you said that if the person who was aggressing on the property then turns it into a lethal situation or potentially lethal situation, the person is then allowed to use self-defense to end the other person's life.
Right, but you're no longer defending property at that point.
You're now defending yourself.
Sure. Right, so we've separated the two.
Right, so that's what I'm getting at is with Kyle. He's there to defend the property, which
not his property.
Okay, so that's what I'm asking. Is that the contention?
Well, it's one of many contentions. But it's a pretty huge one, both from a legal standpoint and from a moral one as well.
No, but so in our hypothetical, if it wasn't a shopkeeper, if it was Spider-Man, we all know the Spider-Man origin story, right? The guy runs by and the shopkeeper's like, hey, stop that guy. And Spider-Man does it. And the guy goes off and kills Uncle Ben. So if it's not his property, you're not morally allowed to stop a person. Is that where you're coming from?
Well, you've now separated again to whether or not he's attacking someone versus property. Like these things have to be different, right? Like, you know.
Well, first of all, we have no evidence that he's attacking one. He's standing in front of a business, right?
If it was standing in front of a business. But in your scenario, in this hypothetical, the Spider-Man 101 environment, right? So in that case, you've gone like, oh, he's gone on to kill Uncle Ben. I mean, that's what we call a slippery slope fallacy.
I'm talking about ignore that. I'm just talking about the incident of the guy running by and the shopkeeper's like, stop that guy. You don't think you have any moral... You don't think it's moral for you to stop that guy. You think it's immoral for you to stop that guy.
To stop the person who's running away?
Yeah.
Well, how do you know about what's happening? Like
you see, okay, we're getting way too off on these.
We're in the weeds, so to speak.
We're getting in the weeds. Okay. So is the contention here is that if Kyle's was the owner of the store, would it have been fine for him to defend the store?
It depends on the scenario.
What would be the scenario where it wouldn't be okay for him to defend the store?
It's okay. So he owns this car shop.
Right.
I don't think he's morally justified in shooting people who would simply be damaging the property when they're not posing a direct threat to his life.
Well, I don't agree. I don't disagree with that necessarily, but that's not what happened, right?
See, at each one of these scenarios, we eventually accelerate to this point where he stopped attacking property and he started to attack a person. So we can separate the two. And I think you could do the very same, because you want to have this argument whether or not it's morally justifiable to defend property. That always seems to accelerate to the point where he's defending himself or defending a person, right?
We can have the conversation about whether you can kill someone over property, which I think you can. But that's not exactly what happened in Kyle's situation. As we've said, it escalated from he was defending property to he was defending his life. And it sounds like you're saying that him going there in the first place, him simply defending property in the first place, forgoes the fact that he was defending his own life.
So simply defending property foregoes the fact that he would be defending his own life. I think that you will lose the moral high ground if the scenario involving you traveling across state lines, carrying a firearm that's not your own to defend property that you don't have. And I'm going to give you guys the good graces of, skirting away perhaps the, let's say, more highly charged reasons why he might be in there. But all of those things, all of a sudden, it's a very different scenario than you were simply standing in front of your shop, trying to protect your shop from people trying to attack you. You are going for an ideological reason. He's not going over there simply to protect property. He's going over there because he's part of a larger culture war, right? He's going over there as part of the, let's just say, the Blue Lives Matter movement, perhaps the MAGA movement. And it happens to have a lot more to do with that than it is simply him going there for the purposes of being an upstanding citizen.
So do you think if someone goes to a place for an ideological reason, they forego their right to self-defense if someone attacks them?
And what about the people that they're attacking? This is important, right?
Well, no, but wait, but that's not what I asked you, though.
Okay, so does someone forego the right to self-defense?
If they're going to a place for an ideological reason.
That alone, no, because you would need more than that.
There's a problem here, Lance, because you keep adding these things together, and you're creating this matrix of things that we can never get to the bottom.
The matrix.
Well, no, seriously. I asked you a very important question, because is it 5 things? Is it 3 things? Like, which thing is most important? Like, I don't understand the logic of these things stack up to an argument.
Because what I think you generally, and I'm not if I'm strawmanning you here, tell me, right? But I'm going to try and steelman you here. I think I like, when we cut this down, what you would really like is me to be able to give you just a yes or no answer, when I think that these situations are always multifaceted, and there's like, this doesn't happen in a vacuum. So there are a whole bunch of things we have to consider, rather than just saying at any given point, anyone should be allowed to do blank because of blank. So that's why I'm saying, and I didn't want us to spend, an inordinate amount of time going in circles here. That's why I was like, I'm going to, right out of the gates, lay down what would be my qualifiers for this and when it is rightfully for an individual to act in self-defense.
Can we just go to, like, what is the most important factor? Is it the ideology? Is it the state lines? Is it the he wasn't in imminent threat?
Case, the most important factor would probably be that he is trying to defend property that isn't his.
Okay, so that's a number one criteria for you.
That would
he
probably
does
be the
not
first
own
thing.
the property. Doesn't that make all police, though, immoral? Because police, by their very nature, that's their job description, is to defend property that they don't own.
Are you going to go full ACAB?
I'm asking you your position. Well, you're the one. You are the one. Listen, do you believe doctors have a moral vocation? Do you think what they're doing better society? Doctors, by saving lives.
Do I think they have a moral vocation?
Yeah.
As in what they're doing is morally justified?
Yeah. Yes, doctors.
I don't know why you would have to justify your job in that scenario. Like, I don't know whether that requires.
Generally, we want to have a job that's like morally good for society. That's why people take certain
generally
jobs.
Most people don't really get the pleasure of that opportunity. Most people take a job because they have to survive. That's kind of how it works.
Well, you're making the argument here that anyone who defends property that they themselves do not own is morally reprehensible or morally.
Well, does it not strike you as weird as shooting people or killing people to protect, like, I don't know, your television, your fleshlights? Like, would you murder a bunch of people to protect your fleshlight collection? That would be really weird to me.
That's not analogous to the situation.
Yeah,
no,
totally.
It's not. It's ridiculous.
First
but
of all,
I'm not trying to tickle your prostates with this. I'm just saying that, to me, that's why it comes across as morally, let's just say, bizarre.
But do you understand that there are police officers who it is their job to protect other people's property? That's the whole job of police.
Oh yeah, are we going to go down this rabbit hole? Because I'd love to talk about this. There's a huge problem with that.
So you are saying that police are morally reprehensible. That police, what they do is, well, maybe reprehensible is a bad word.
You kind of set up these scenarios, and then you'll end with what I assume is kind of like, and that's why you say.
I don't want to straw man you. I don't want to straw man you, Lance. You okay. Tell me your position, okay?
So if we're going to talk about the police, because I think this would be interesting, because I know most of your audience probably despises me, but this might be a neat time to have some of them, because I'm in here because I want to leave the echo chamber, So we're both getting high level ideas, sped at each other in rapid time. When it comes to the police and property damage and property crime, right? Which again is what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be stopping people from, like, none of us want I've had my car broken into, I've had my stereo stolen before. It's a shitty feeling. No one likes theft, crime, that kind of stuff, right? In society, what is the largest form of theft that occurs to a large scale? Like, whether it be, I don't know, jewels, property, stereos, fleshlights.
I have no idea. If it's fleshlights, I'm gonna be amazed. What is it? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just waiting for both answers. The answer is wage theft. The answer is wage theft.
Hi, you just listened to a clip from the Sitch and Adams show. If you like what you heard, you can listen to our live show right here on this channel on Sunday, starting at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you want, you can super chat us. We read $20 and up super chats on the show, and then do a follow-up stream on the following Tuesday where we read the rest of the unread super chats and interact with fans of the show. Subscribe to this channel right here to listen to the live show or to listen to more of our awesome clips.